Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. I wanted to reach back in this first conversation about Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, that I had with Kelly Sue DeConnick. She's the mother of Captain Marvel, and I think the current iteration. And as the movie takes a victory lap with the release of the Blu-ray, and certainly on streaming now, she remains a polarizing figure. I am amused by the polarization, and more than enough room at the table for Captain Marvel as far as I'm concerned. And I'm a longtime Carol Danvers fan, and I think Kelly Sue, when you hear this conversation, showed her bona fides right from the start. We not only talk about her run or what her plans were at the time for Captain Marvel before the debut, but we also talk about Carol Danvers' previous fathers, Jerry Conway and Chris Claremont. So it's a fun conversation, and a lot of what was on Kel's mind while she was creating this. Really funny stuff, and interesting historic stuff. And as usual, I always get a history lesson from Kelly Sue DeConnick. And, as I say, she's in the clubhouse. I mean, we bond over things like Modesty Blaze and great 60s spy movies and good spaghetti westerns. And, her husband Matt Fraction and I had the same thing. It's always been that way with both of them. And we're looking forward to new conversations with them coming in July. So it's been so long since I've talked to Kel. And again, I just kind of thought this Captain Marvel conversation was really cool. So I wanted to represent it now. The Rebirth of Captain Marvel in the hands of Kelly Sue DeConnick on Word Balloon. It's all brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, as always, for your continued support via Patreon. If you want to help the cause out and subscribe to Word Balloon is free. But, trying to make it a bit bigger and better Word Balloon, especially as I'm healing from my infection that has been taking up the entirety of 2019. But, things continue to improve. And I thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners, for your help. If you want to subscribe to Word Balloon, you can go to patreon.com/wordballoon, or you can click on the Patreon ad right on the front page of wordballoon.com. Thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners. Word Balloon is also brought to you by Key Collector Comics. And, this is a good opportunity to show you what the Key Collector Comics app can do. So, when would you ask might Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel's first appearance might have happened? When do you think? Captain Marvel number 1? Actually, no. Avenging Spider-Man number 9 was the first official appearance, although she doesn't get the code name until Captain Marvel number 1, which is Kel's first book. But how about that, man? And the second and third appearances, of course, Captain Marvel number 1 and Avenging Spider-Man 10 completing the story. Pretty crazy stuff. So, also in Captain Marvel 13, the first cover appearance of Captain Marvel's Mohawk helmet. So, some key moments of Captain Marvel, courtesy of the Key Collectors Comics app. It's free, and you should check it out. You can search by title, character, artist, writer, search variants, or browse hundreds of categories like movie homage covers and valuable second printings. There's also true price guidance that provides a target dollar amount for you to acquire an issue and have some profit built into your purchase. Key Collector Comics has been endorsed by Alex Ross and Neil Adams, to name drop just a couple of industry people, and it's available for free on the Apple App Store and Google Play, with an average rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars, out of thousands of reviews at Apple, Google, and Facebook. Check it out for yourself. It's pretty cool. Key Collector Comics. Word Balloon is also brought to you by Aftershock Comics, who are kicking ass in this, what they call the Year of Reading Dangerously, publishing some of the best independent titles of the past few years, like Marguerite Bennett's Animosity, A Walk Through Hell from Garth Ennis, Dark Arc from Cullen Bunn and Juan Doe, Baby Teeth from Donny Cates. They continue to work with top writers and artists and some of the brightest new stars in the creative community. You'll want to check out new upcoming titles like Joe Pruitt's horror anthology Shock, Cullen Bunn's new Knights Temporal, Chris Sabella's Trustfall, and Matthew Klickstein's You Are Obsolete, to name only a few. Books like this will cut across all genres and take readers far beyond their comfort zones. Now, in the weeks ahead, we'll have more talks with Aftershock creators about some of these books. You don't have to wait, though. You can find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on how to order these books through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. All right, without further ado, let's get into our conversation now with my buddy, Kelly Sue DeConnick, going back to 2012. and her explanation of what she, Dexter Soy, and Steve Wacker had in store for us with Captain Marvel. Who knew it would become the phenomenon that it did? Kelly Sue DeConnick on Word Balloon.
Was very happy to hear the WonderCon news. Already was happy and was planning on a new talk because of the Next Castle OGN, and I want to talk about that. But let's talk about the news of the moment. And Carol Danvers finally receiving the superhero credit that she already had in the military, I guess, Captain Marvel.
Yeah, she actually was a full bird colonel, apparently, when she retired. So technically, Captain is a step down for her.
Colonel Marvel.
Yeah. Colonel Marvel,
right.
it doesn't quite have the same ring. So.
No.
Yeah.
Understood. It's just like Admiral Kirk and Captain Kirk back in the Star Trek.
Exactly.
But, so, tell me, because I was reading, I think, your Comic Alliance interview, and I read about that you were kind of brought in after the design was chosen and stuff. How did you get the gig?
I was not brought in after the design was chosen. No, that's not correct.
Oh, okay. Well, then give me yes.
No, but no, I knew it was not my idea to make her captain.
Okay.
That was, in fact, that was a shock to me. I had thought of it, but I had literally been told that there was no chance that would happen. Not by anyone who actually had the power to make it happen, but rather just by other writers said, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Okay.
And then when I finally got the call from Wacker that it was greenlit, he said it's greenlit and she's going to be Captain Marvel.
Very cool.
And that so I had less than nothing to do with that. I thought it was fantastic. I was super excited about it, but I can take no credit for it at all. And when I was asked where that came from, I said it was Steve. As far as I know, it was Steve. And he replied, when you turn these interviews in, you CC your editor and everybody just make sure you don't say anything super stupid. And which doesn't stop me, by the way. I've always wondered, I'm like, wow, nobody vets the podcasts, which is really likely to screw it up.
Yeah, until.
Yeah, right? I know, exactly. You have to CC the Marvel PR guy and your editor.
Oh, okay. So is that James or is that?
It's usually Arun. Arun. And
all names well known to the Word Balloon listeners. All right.
Yeah. Arun's great. I love Arun. He's awesome.
No, both guys, good guys, and they invite to those Marvel telepress conferences with the print guys. So, which was an interesting experience in itself. And they're like, "Oh, we're not used to being on the record this way."
Yeah, no, they're good guys.
They absolutely are. Go on.
Anyway, so you CC them and you CC your editor, and and sometimes I'll have there'll be a question that was asked, and I'm not entirely sure of the answer, and I'll put an aside in there, and on this one, it's like I don't know where that came from. That was not me. I suspect that was Wacker. Excuse me, sorry.
No
problem. And Steve replied that in fact he had been trying to make that happen since the previous series.
Since Brian Reed's series, okay.
Yeah, so that was very definitely his thing. So kudos to him for that, because that's killer.
No, that's great. I just, I got to be honest, I understand, or maybe I'm presuming to understand the reasons for the costume change.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to be honest, I like Cheesecake Ms. Marvel. Forgive me.
It's all right. I don't hate the old costume. That's another thing. It's like people think I have some kind of vendetta against the old costume. I have a problem with the old costume. It's just literally we had a chance to do something else, and
that's cool. And
when I'm trying to get in the headspace of this woman, and initially I was going to be writing a funeral scene, and well, I did end up writing a funeral scene, but so I'm getting in the headspace for this woman, and I'm thinking about this funeral scene, and I'm thinking I'm wearing a swimsuit and thigh boots at a funeral.
I understand. Fair enough. Okay.
It's just like, and there's a certain willing suspension of disbelief in all of this stuff.
Of
but
course.
It's just like, okay, that's stupid. That's just stupid. I'm not gonna, and there's a Tumblr that's called Ms. Marvel's Ass.tumblr.com. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's look, there's a certain amount of, we've talked about this before. I'm not anti things that are sexually appealing, but I want this character to have a level of dignity that is not supported by a swimsuit and thigh boots.
I understand.
So
no, I get it. Hey, my friend, I totally get it. And honestly, I always, as you know in our previous conversations, I hate these kinds of necessary. I don't find them necessary. I'm really glad you got this job, and I appreciate your point of view, and everything you said totally makes sense. So I absolutely understand that. I also appreciate the fact that you said that there's that suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. This is a different phase for Carol Danvers' career.
Yeah.
So with that in mind as well, why not change the outfit? And by all means, that's fine.
And the other thing too is it's still depending on the artist that does it. Dexter does it. The flight suit is skin tight. It looks like it's so
that's fine.
There's very little difference between the swimsuit and thigh boots and the flight suit, save for the coloring, depending on the hands of the artist that it's in.
No, I understand. And there's
the hair has gotten a much bigger negative response than the flight suit. The flight suit pretty much, at least on Tumblr, which is where the bulk of the reaction has come from.
Interesting.
On the Tumblr community loves the flight suit and hates the hair.
I understand that. No, I understand that too. I read that Comics Alliance interview, and I thought you gave a very logical explanation of why you like it. Feel free to repeat it.
Yeah. Well, when I first saw the hair, it was Joe Quesada did a sketch of it. I had no plans to change her hair, and there were a bunch of emails going around, and Quesada did the sketch and was like, hey, what? She hasn't had to update her hairstyle in a while, and that is kind of a thing that, like.
Yes, she used to be.
Carol has looked like blonde female superhero number 7 for years. You know what I mean? Like, there's not been anything particularly unique about her look.
That's interesting because I remember that debut, and she had kind of not Dorothy Hamill. Help me, 1970s.
No, she had
hair.
very 70s hair. She had the
Tony Tennille, Captain and Tennille.
Exactly. And then as it went on, they were going for a
Diane Sawyer. Who'd you say?
Gloria Steinem.
Gloria Steinem. Okay.
When she is the editor. Yeah. When she is the editor of Woman magazine, they are so clearly going for Gloria Steinem. I took a screen cap of one page where it's just like, wow, I bet that is based on a Gloria Steinem photo of some sort. But
that's right.
Anyway, so with this the big blonde hair, just it was it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But Quesada did this sketch, and the dude is crazy talented. And and I think sometimes as he's moved to his operational role, I sometimes forget. Oh no, he's incredibly talented as an artist. He's insanely talented as an artist. And
absolutely.
So he throws this thing together and was like, "What if we did something like this?" And it looks beautiful. It looked, I don't know if I can get permission to show it. I can certainly send it to you under the table, but,
awesome. Thank you.
But don't share that with anybody.
All right, fair enough.
Don't tell the internet. But he did the sketch, and it is beautiful and feminine and powerful and contemporary and just gorgeous. And I was like, yes, I like that. And so the idea is that it is, and here's the thing about it. I don't know how relatable it is, because it's not a hairstyle I've ever seen on anyone. It's not a mohawk. It's not a mullet. I've seen it called a mullet a couple times. It is a little bit shorter than her regular hair that you're used to, but when she is in uniform, the sides are slicked back to allow for the helmet to come up, so that when she wears the helmet, she has this mohawk thing going on down the center that is both a call out to the Mohawk warriors and also to the Kree helmet of old.
Sure.
And it's cool. I love it. And
no, I'm with you.
When her hair is just down, it looks pretty much like hair. Like, it looks just a little tiny bit shorter than her old hair that you're used to. But as different artists have rendered their take on it, Ed's is very severe.
Ed McGuinness.
Yes, Ed McGuinness's, which is on our cover, looks very short in his version.
Mm-hmm.
And Dex's is almost the opposite. Dex's is crazy long. Dex's is like a horse mane. Excuse me, and Jamie McKelvey's is somewhere in the middle. And then there's one other artist I'm going to tease working on it that I cannot tell you about because this is not announced yet. But
okay.
It is stunningly beautiful.
That's fantastic. So, it looks like from the preview pages and what you've said so far online, that is the first arc going to be half flashback, half current status quo? You tell me.
It starts, man, this is a thing I don't know. I don't know how much to tell.
We're not looking for spoilers, but yeah,
okay.
As general as you need to be.
The first issue introduces a character that's going to be important for our first arc. And we go back at the opening of the first issue. We see when she and Carol met. And we learn just a little bit about her. And then we go back to Carol with the Avengers and Carol's status quo and Carol dealing with the decision to take the new name. And then at the close of the issue, we revisit this woman, Helen Cobb is her name.
Okay.
And then the first issue, we wanted to make it as self-contained as possible, but
cool.
it sets us up for the first arc.
Okay.
That Helen will be an important part of.
How long do you envision that first arc to be?
6 issues.
Okay.
I think every writer wants to spread it out as much as possible, and I was like, I want to get all this stuff in, so I think 8 issues. But as I'm actually outlining it, I'm like, you know what? I think if I cut the fat, and by all means, let's cut the fat, I can do this in 6.
Okay.
So.
Interesting. Just talking to John Hickman about story arcs and stuff, and I wonder moving forward, because you're obviously going to establish a lot. I'm glad that first issue is self-contained, by the way, because that's the thing. I wonder where the 6-issue arc is in the current comic environment.
It's I really wanted to do the big. And maybe this is a rookie thing. I don't know. Well, no, it's not. It's not, because Brian Bendis was telling me to go for it, and Brian is anything but a rookie, but I really wanted to do the big dun 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 cliffhanger at the end of the first issue. I was totally fighting for it. And Steve, to his credit, he wasn't telling me no, but he was telling me he thought there was a stronger choice. And it was on me to decide. And I rewrote the ending 4 times, I think.
Okay.
And ended up with an ending rather than a dun dun dun.
Okay.
And there are certainly everything that is introduced in the second issue is picked up on in the first issue is picked up on in the second issue.
Sure.
So it is a continuation. It is not like separate from the rest of the book, it is not a. And now you have to go get issue 2. You know.
Right. No, I honestly, Kel, I appreciate that because I think that's. I think you know that is a better and stronger choice to let the reader go, oh, that was fun. Now, do you want to do it again or not? If not, you at least, okay, here's your full story for your purchase. This is what the book is going to be like. This is the tone. And, see you in 30 days. And if not, thanks for your time.
Yeah, and structurally, it's excuse me. Structurally, it's bookended. So, our opening is a flashback that deals with Helen, and then thematically, it's continued in this central section of the book, and then our closing goes back to Helen. My biggest concern when I was writing it was, and this may be a little inside baseball, I don't know how much people are interested in this, but...
No, craft comes up all the time, so please.
I was very concerned that it was going to feel like two different books. Like it would feel like the bookends were one story and the central section was another story. And I knew how connected they were, but I was concerned that I wasn't communicating how connected they were. And I hope that we got that. We got that in there enough.
Okay.
But it's not for me to decide how successful I've been. It's for me to do my best. And
sure.
And I'd rather aim to do something interesting and miss the mark a little bit than play it safe.
Okay. So do you feel like because I mean with the Brian Reed series, her prominent role in Brian's Avengers, Carol Danvers has been out there and I think well represented, certainly an important cog in some events like House of M that gave her kind of a new reason for being. So, do you feel, what kind of tweaking do you think you need to do to, give her the clean slate to attract a new audience, but also, maybe take advantage of or not what's been happening with her the last few years?
It's interesting. I'm not consciously tweaking anything. I'm just kind of writing the Carol that of my understanding. And my pitch was Carol Danvers as Chuck Yeager. And I want her to be kind of quick-tempered and fun and, playful and aggressive and not perfect, like struggling. And I don't think that she certainly hasn't been portrayed as perfect. It's not like I'm up against that. She's made a lot of questionable decisions. I've got her. I went back and I read all of the old stuff, and you can't help but pick up on what you identify with. You and I think have talked about this before. That it makes sense to me that Matt writes Tony Stark as well as he does. It makes sense to me that Brian writes Peter Parker as well as he does. Now I won't presume to that level for myself, but there were things in Carol's biography that I really was able to latch on to, that and things that even though they may not be qualities that I have, they're qualities that I recognize.
Her faults or both?
I don't think I'm as driven as she is, but I do think she's as spiteful as I am. I think that I know I'm not as courageous as she is. I would like to be, but but you know, she was conceived as a feminist character. She was unapologetically a feminist character when she came out. And I think that's fantastic. And one of the ways that they established what she was struggling against was in the character of her father, who she loved very much and who loved her very much and who was dismissive of her accomplishments and her station. You know, and there's one point, there's an arc where it was particularly one issue where he is in danger. He's a foreman on a construction site, and there's a bad dude anyway. And Ms. Marvel saves him, and he's like, you know, I don't need any girl saving me, and you know, and it's like, it's not just a girl, it's his daughter, and he doesn't know that, you know. But there's every girl wants her daddy's approval, you know.
Sure.
And the Marvel Universe is founded on daddy issues.
Very true.
And I think that...
Sorry, I was going through my pull box there, and I saw every... Yeah. Go on.
Oh, yeah. Check them off.
Go on.
And you know, and I think Carol's no different. I think that I think that she is... And you know what? Her dad's gone now.
Yep.
You know, and I have somebody in my family who was never approved of by the person that she most wanted to be approved of by, and I watch her still fighting, for the approval of this woman who's long dead now, you know, and it's sad, and I think that there is an element of that to Carol. I think that Carol wants to prove to her father that she is everything he could have wanted from any of the boys and more.
How many brothers does she have?
She has 2 brothers.
Okay.
She has 2 younger brothers. One of them's dead.
Okay.
And you know, her dad didn't want her to go to school. Her dad wanted the boys to go to school.
Okay.
And you know, and it's a thing. He just, you know, it wasn't for lack of affection. He loved his daughter. He wanted his daughter to get married and have babies and be happy, you know, like that. Sure. There are chains in that these sometimes don't understand. And he didn't let Carol be Carol, and he didn't give Carol the same kind of love that he gave his boys. And she's still mad about that. She's still dealing with that. She's still racing to prove something to him. And we don't ever deal with it overtly, at least not in anything I've got planned right now. But I think that is always under the surface. Somebody, I don't remember which interview it was, I've done a ton of these lately, but somebody asked me to sum Carol up or sum this take up, you know, and Carol Danvers' Chuck Yeager is the catchiest, but
sure.
But you know, if you're looking for the Kung Fu billionaire of it all, you know, it was something, I'm trying to remember what I said, I should memorize it, but it was something pilot races to prove dead daddy wrong, and I think that's what it is, you know. It's just that she's never going to be able to run fast enough, fly high enough, go fast enough, break enough records to prove to him that she was everything he could have wanted, you know.
Very cool.
So
works for me, pal. I'm really excited for you, and I truly to read this because I got to ask because it seemed to come to mind. Starbuck on Battlestar Galactica. Any influence?
You know, I didn't watch. I'd love to say yes. I didn't watch enough of that to know.
Interesting.
Yeah, you know what happened? I blew it.
Great show.
Yeah, well, listen to this is me not being able to hold my water. We watched a couple episodes, and I was so like, we got to it really late. And by the time we got to it, there was already like a website with all of the everything on it. So we watched like 2 or 3 episodes, and then like over the weekend, I read the entire Battlestar Galactica wiki. And completely spoiled everything for myself. And therefore had no need of watching anymore.
Aw. That's all right.
Oh, yeah. I'm notorious for that. When I was in college, I used to, my roommate and I would go for a walk every evening, and I would make her tell me episodes of Northern Exposure. So it's like, tell me a TV show. And she would just tell me a TV show. It was like, and she has this amazing memory for them. So she could remember like scene by scene. And I've seen several Northern Exposures, but you would think I'd seen like the entire run of it. I know episodes that I've never seen. I know, it's sort of weird, but I like it. I make Matt tell me TV shows all the time too.
Were there runs of Ms. Marvel that I imagine? Did you read the whole thing to research, or what was your approach as far as prepping for this or moving forward, for that matter?
I haven't made my way through all of the Captain Marvel stuff, but I've read. I've read the Volume 1 and the Volume 2 series. I have not read all of the stuff that happened in various other books. Okay.
So who was Volume? Who were the people that wrote Volume 1? I'm assuming was Volume 2 Reed's run, right?
It was Reed.
Okay.
Reed. And then Jerry Conway created it, and Claremont did the bulk of Volume 1.
Interesting. Okay. Both are interesting. I'm a big Jerry Conway fan.
Oh man, I think he is underappreciated for how important he is.
Agreed.
And he only really launched it and then left. And I don't know I have no inside scoop on what that story is or why or anything. But he credited his wife as co-creating the character with him or consulting with him on it or something like that, which I thought was awfully nice of him.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's, of Volume 1, so how did Claremont do then with the character?
Well, he doesn't listen to the show, does he?
No, actually, and you know something? Honestly, and I should tell my listeners too, can't say I'm really chomping at the bit to talk to him because, as unfortunately most of my listeners know, not really an X-Men fan.
Yeah.
I'm just never have been. So really, I appreciated him, but was never a fan, and he's been kind of pompous to me when I've talked to him. So
yeah, I met him once. He is super accomplished and pretty crotchety, but he's earned it. Whatever. I'll probably be pretty crotchety at that age too.
There you go.
he's got. I have to say, I really like it. There's some stuff that is kind of. There's some stuff that just didn't age well.
Sure, but something, you always strike me as someone that can separate that from. You could find the gold in that dirt.
He's got some foibles. He's got some there's this thing that he does where so and so is a warrior born and warrior made and inversion thing that after a while it's like, dude. He also says to coin a phrase when he's not coining a phrase, he's in fact quoting a phrase.
Hilarious.
And that happens a lot, and that drives me crazy. And that actually doesn't. That's just like my internal editor. Why didn't the editor catch that? That's not what that means. But all of that stuff is kind of dressing. What he does that's really strong is, he's really good at working. He builds these big casts, lots of supporting characters, and they're very human. He builds really rich human relationships. And that is, you see him as I'm reading this stuff, I see where he's planted seeds for himself, and I don't know, but I assume he has no idea how many of these he's going to be able to pick back up on. He's just putting things out there that he might be able to come back to later.
Okay.
There's a thing when her apartment burns down, and there's a detail about a man that's in one of the photographs that burns, and you're like, wait, what? Who? Huh? And it's just. And it's clearly someone that's important to Carol, but he doesn't lay all of his cards out about that right then. And it's really lovely. It's really deftly done. And I have to say that, I was made to care very much about her and those people very quickly, which was great. I had no idea when I went into reading all the old stuff how much I was going to like it. And I really did like it. I liked it a lot. I liked what Conway was doing because I thought he was being fearlessly progressive. I was very impressed. It was a book of its time.
What year was it specifically? Do you remember this?
76? I don't think so. I think it's earlier than that, but...
Okay. We can look that up while we're talking. By the way, I'd like to give you your credit, because, again, it was in that Laura Hudson article that you had your one-line pitch. Crackerjack pilot races to prove her dead daddy wrong.
There you go, Crackerjack.
So Crackerjack. Yes, indeed. Nice.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a good one for her. It's got that old-timey thing happening in it.
Absolutely. You're killing me.
So.
No, that's really interesting, though, as I'm looking up to see what year Ms. Marvel was created. You found, like I said, you found the golden Conway and you found the golden Claremont. Yeah. I think that's really interesting. And I really did. I love Brian's.
I was wrong. You were right. It's 77. I thought it was earlier.
Okay. I kind of, and forgive me, and again, it's because I'm old. I just kind of was like, I think it was like post-ERA, but like certainly in that era, and it was still on everyone's mind. And yeah, no, it makes sense. That's really.
I think right now I'm making my way through the Captain Marvel stuff, which starts much earlier in like 60s.
Yeah, 60s. Yeah, 68, exactly.
Yeah, so
very cool. And then did you, so did she appear was her first appearance in the Captain Marvel strip as, Air Force Carol Danvers?
She's Carol Danvers, the head of security at the base where he's undercover as, oh God, what's his name?
Oh, I don't even remember that. Nice going.
Yeah, Walt something? Shoot, I can't remember. It's not horrifically catchy. But I also like he's an old dude, which is so great. It's so of that period. Like, we've talked before about how, like, no, seriously, Walter Matthau as an action hero. Like, Captain Marvel's like that. He's like white hair,
Yes.
And he's under his secret identity. Oh shoot! Now I gotta.
No, I'm doing Wikipedia while we're talking to see if I can find it too. But you're killing me. Walter Matthau is an action hero. Very true. Yeah. Charlie Varick. Come on, I know Matt's in that club as well.
Totally. We have a framed Charlie Varick poster in our hallway.
See, that's again another reason why you guys killed me. Absolutely.
Yeah. And but yeah, he's Captain Marvel is like this. Clearly older, white-haired man who is our action hero. It's pretty hilarious. It's awesome. I love it. I mean, I like that. I have my own crotchety old dude thing about how. Why is everybody got to be 15 years old today? Like, these pictures gotten out of hand. I was so spitting mad when they did the Star Trek relaunch and the movie and everything. Was like 19. I was like, what?
Yeah.
No gravitas at all at that age. And worse than that. Whoa, worse than that. now you're gonna get me going. But
kill me, go.
The Lois Lane when she was like 12.
Oh, Superman Returns. Yeah, I thank you, kid, because I agree with you. Yeah. Absolutely.
And the thing is that, like, she is an accomplished reporter. To make her matter, she has to be really, really good at her job. She was too young to have had any experience whatsoever.
Agreed.
It was ridiculous. You didn't buy it for a second.
No. And it really, yeah. Thanks, Kevin Spacey, for whispering in Bryan Singer's ear. Yeah, how about her? How about no? What'd you think of Erica Durance as Lois Lane on Smallville?
Is this Smallville? Never seen it. Can you believe
Interesting.
it?
Really?
Never seen it. And I'll tell you, even more interesting than that is like when I was doing Supergirl.
Yes.
I named some character something.
I think I remember that because I'm pretty sure we talked about this. And
yeah.
I'm like, ooh, Silver Age, nice going.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I don't know if it was on purpose, but there was somebody I named something. Oh, man, I'm trying to remember what it was. And I got an email from my editor on that, and he was like, oh, I see why you did that, and I think it's great, but I don't think we want to call to, it was something about, like, he thought I was referencing Smallville because I had chosen a name that was very similar to the name of the actress that plays Smallville.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I literally had no idea.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was completely unconscious. So I must have absorbed it at some point somewhere. And I don't know. It's very odd. I also did it in Osborne. Wacker wrote me. I named a character Carney Reeves, and he was like, "Oh, that's a reference to the character that plays or the actor that plays Spider-Man on Broadway?" And I was like, "No, it isn't. It's like a reference to a dude working in a carnival." But apparently the guy who played Spider-Man at the time on Broadway was named like Reeve Carney or something. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was like, well, I don't think I did that on purpose. I don't remember doing that on purpose, but how could I not have done that on purpose? I seriously thought it was just a carnival reference.
That's awesome.
So.
Say too much input, woman. You are in front of your screen, and I'm sure there's a television on, and your laptop is open, and you're texting a Matt who's literally next to you, as opposed to talking to him. Seriously, woman, you are Johnny Mnemonic. You're Joni Mnemonic.
You know, that is my, that might be my favorite nickname yet. The dudes that do the comics, the blog thing have started calling me like Rampage or something. And I'm just like, I don't know where that came from.
Rampage?
I don't know. James Leask, I think, came up with it. I'm like, dude, I'm like a 40-year-old mother of two. I'm hardly on a rampage. But anyway, whatever.
No, but
sweet. They're nice guys. I like them a lot.
All right, good deal. That's cool. But that's what kills me about you. You seriously, you are plugged in, woman. So I'm amazed because you are.
I am always jealous of the culture consumption that you and Brian and Matt have. I am so behind. I don't get to watch as much stuff, and I can't. I mean, I do.
That's situational though, pal, because you're raising the two kids. Because no, you're totally there. You're in the club. You know you're in the club.
Yeah, he can
totally.
Yeah, Matt is a very participatory dad, but he also works differently than I do. I have to work in quiet, and he can like have a show on and work at the same time, and I cannot seem to do that. It drives me crazy. I'm endlessly jealous of that.
No, I can't write with hearing talking or anything like that. I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I can't even listen to music that has lyrics, which bums me out.
Right. No, I'm the same. I do Soma FM. That's my favorite internet radio station to listen to just mood music while I'm writing and stuff.
Well, I'll have to check that out. I've been listening to the soundtrack to Haywire a lot lately.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's kind of.
Do you guys still have a turntable?
We don't. Matt made this decision at one point. I can't remember when it was. I think it was right before Tallulah was born, and he was like gonna get into records. That was like, he was like, all right, here we go. And then it was like, oh, and hey, I'm pregnant. Wah, wah.
All right, back to Ms. Marvel, or pardon me, Captain Marvel for a second. Shame on me.
No, sorry. I do it all the time.
I feel better. All right, that's good. But no, I want to know, I mean, is her military background going to be a big portion of the book as well?
You know, I think, yes. I grew up on military bases. My dad is, he's retired Air Force. I grew up on Air Force bases. My father was not a pilot when he was in the service, but he is a pilot as a civilian.
Cool.
Pilot culture is very important to me. Interestingly, I am scared to fly. I'm terrified every time I get in a plane. But I'm kind of obsessed with the imagery of it. You know, and my there's stuff I'm going to lift just whole cloth from my childhood. There was my dad and I used to go to a lot of air shows together, and that was a very much a bonding experience for us. My dad and I did models of planes together. You know, he had those books that just cataloged old planes and everything about them, and that will I am stealing that.
Cool.
And handing that right over to Carol. So yeah, her identity as a pilot and as a military pilot is very much part of it. However, I think that she has been in kind of what's the word I want here? She's been in kind of I don't know, almost like law enforcement mode for a while. Like she's been
in her hero capacity or in her Air Force?
In her hero capacity for the
sure.
She's been law and order, you know.
Absolutely, she was on Tony's side during the Registration Act.
She was, and then later she was rounding people up, you know. And I'm looking to guide her back to more of an iconoclastic place, which I think is how she started. And, you know, I don't want to force it. I want to kind of like have her find that, have her find that Chuck Yeager spirit again, you know, have her find that like hungry place that.
Okay. When you say pilot culture beyond the hardware, are you talking about, you know, and again, forgive me, but I'm going to go to movies and stuff like we see in The Right Stuff and that kind of, okay. Who's on top of the pyramid? Who's the number one dog in the house, or whatever the fly boys call them, and fly girls, you know.
It absolutely matters.
And I'm not talking about in living color fly girls when I say that, obviously.
In living color. We were just talking about that the other day.
Of course you were.
Yeah. Brian Bennett's daughter, Olivia. Has recently discovered Jim Carrey, and thinks he's hilarious, and we're all like, "Oh yeah, he kind of was hilarious, wasn't he?" And then I was remembering like how much I loved him on In Living Color, and I was like, "Oh, we should find her some old episodes of In Living Color to watch because those were a hoot. I love that show."
That'd be perfect, absolutely. Fire Marshal Bill.
Yeah. Oh, that was amazing. I remember trying to do that. Like looking in the mirror and being like, oh.
Of course you were.
I totally can.
You're killing me. That's awesome. Well, that's really cool, though. You know, and also I noticed there's a new, I don't think it's been out yet on PBS, about a new documentary about women who were fighter pilots or were pilots in some capacity during World War II, and it was a civilian corps.
Yeah, it's called, what you are you talking about, Fly Girls?
Probably.
Yeah,
Probably.
it is out.
Okay.
I have the DVD of it, and it's the Women's Air Force Service Pilots, the WASPs.
Sure. Okay.
And it is so good.
Cool.
And also so incredibly heartbreaking. And if you're me, it will make you Can I use adult language?
Of course you can. You know.
Okay. It will make you freak the fuck out and want to kill people, because these women were so mistreated. And that, you know, and there are, God, there's at least 6 screenplays in that one PBS special. I mean,
Interesting.
Yeah, oh my God. First of all, Jackie Cochran, who was the head of the Wasp.
Yes.
Batshit fucking insane. And she was a grifter. She made up her whole backstory. She changed her name. She was a hairdresser. And she got herself made like the head of the Wasps. She had the ear of the president. I mean, she is crazy pants. And really, really territorial. And like, there was another branch of women pilots that were also auxiliary to the service, and the woman who headed that was like her bitter enemy because she had to be top dog. We talked about that pilot culture thing.
Sure.
She was also the first woman to break the sound barrier.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, and Chuck Yeager was with her when she did it. And Chuck Yeager, who I absolutely adore, but
Superman. The man's a hero, absolutely.
My God, oh my God. But he showed a little bit of his, you know, like she was married to a mega billionaire, you know,
okay.
So, you know, who she met when she was like doing his hair at Macy's or something, you know, but
Awesome.
But, you know, in order to be able to be in the position to do these things, you know, when asked about, at some point, Yeager is asked about the women pilots and, you know, were they at a disadvantage and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, you know, you just, you know, nothing's going to get between Jackie and what she wants to do. And, you know, you just set your mind to it. And like the implication being that like, oh, well, you know, women are not up against anything but themselves. They're just allowing themselves to be cowed. And it's like, yeah, Jackie was rich as shit and could get her husband to call, you know, somebody and say, oh yeah, put my wife in an F4, please. You know what I mean? Like, what was available to Jackie Cochran was not available to every other woman pilot. And everyone who wanted to fly couldn't be a woman pilot necessarily just because they wanted to fly, because it was expensive to take flying lessons. You know, most of these women were privileged, educated women, because that's who got to learn to fly.
Sure.
But anyway, their stories are breathtaking. They were a civilian auxiliary. So they were not considered military. When they died in service, they were not. The fucking military wouldn't even transport their bodies home. They had they had to take up donations from within the sorority. The women paid to have their fallen comrades sent home.
Wow.
Supposed to be buried with military honors, but good for the parents who said fuck it and buried them with a flag anyway. And they weren't allowed to join the veterans organizations in their colleges when they were.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so you mean like the benefits of things like the GI Bill were obviously not allowed, you know, given to them?
No.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the greatest thing that ever happened to the greatest generation, and should have been afforded to, obviously, the women that served as well, obviously.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just some of the...
Interesting.
The one that makes me insane, and the one that I'm like, I totally shouldn't tell you because I'm like, oh, that's my screenplay right there, is there often the men were not super happy with these women pilots.
Sure.
And they gave taking care of their planes lower priority.
Wow.
And there is some suggestion that they may have even sabotaged a couple of the planes. And there was one that went down that Jackie Cochran herself came out and investigated because there was some foul play suspected.
Wow.
And Jackie said that there was no foul play, but then later said that there was, years later said, yeah, that was sabotage, but that she had been afraid to say so because she didn't want the program closed.
Okay.
Which means somebody got away with murder.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Fly Girl sounds really interesting, see? Once again.
Good. It's so good.
When I talk to you and Matt, there's always something new to watch or something new to read, so very good.
I got another one for you.
Please?
Do you know Mercury 13?
No. Is it about a female astronaut that was...
At the same time that they were training the Mercury 7, there was a secret program training women.
Had no idea.
13 female pilots who outscored the boys in every way that you could outscore the boys.
Even Gus Grissom?
They were, I'm sure not like manual strength, but they,
Good.
That were important to foreign astronauts. They tolerated heat.
Say that again, Kel, because I lost it for a second. Go ahead.
Okay, they tolerated heat, cold, isolation, which are isolation/loneliness, the cramped quarters. They outscored the guys in everything that you needed to be an astronaut, and they were seriously amazing pilots. And their program was shit-canned because there was a feeling that the country wouldn't be able to get behind female astronauts.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they're lighter. I mean, they were as far as the scientists were concerned, they were a far better choice for 100 reasons. But as far as the PI guys were concerned, it was a no-go.
Interesting.
And if you, again, Google the Mercury 13, and there you'll see a picture of them standing, watching one of the shuttle launches as older women.
Wow. Okay.
And it's heart-wrenching. It's amazing.
How long did the program last?
Not terribly long, and they didn't talk about it because it was a secret program.
Wow.
But Helen Cobb is based on a couple of the women from the Mercury 13 program.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and there's one woman, what's her name? Let's see. Hold on, I'll find it. It's Jerry something. That I've been reading this book on them. There's a couple books on the program, but there's one that just it's beautifully written. I think the author is like Ackerman, I believe is her name. Jerry Cobb. Well,
okay.
I'm super subtle. But yeah, I mean they're amazing. There was a set of twins in the Mercury 13, and if you look at them, it's Janet and Marion Dietrich. They're stunning. They look like models.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Funny.
I mean,
you were saying something about foreign astronauts, and your sound dropped out. What was that about foreign astronauts?
No, I don't think I was.
All right.
Said something.
Okay, then it sounded like it as it dropped out, and as it was coming back, I thought you were saying foreign astronauts. So I'm like, I lost that. What were you saying? Because the Russians obviously had female astronauts.
In space. It was just her birthday not too long ago. Very recently, a couple days ago, I think, was her birthday.
Was it only the one female cosmonaut, or of that era, or?
I know a lot less about their program than I do about the U.S. program. I could not tell you.
My favorite Discovery Channel shows, unfortunately, is, like bad Soviet space missions or whatever. Unfortunately, it's all the bad space accidents. And I certainly sympathize with those who were lost. I don't mean to make light of it, but I unfortunately, their errors were a lot more public than ours, obviously. Yeah. Other than you see in my rights.
My editor at Dark Horse is a guy, Patrick Thorpe, who is awesome, by the way. He this is apparently one of his like nerd categories is the Russian space program. And when we were talking about Captain Marvel and got into aviation history and sort of that kind of obsession stuff, and he knows a ton about the Russian program and was telling me about it. And he was like, yeah, they were like incredibly cavalier about their people.
Yes.
It's just like, whoops, well, there goes another one.
Yeah, you know. So, no, I understand. And also, you know, it drives me nuts. It was way before I was doing Word Balloon, early 2000s. Someone in Chicago's Wizard Conventions Artist Alley had a great idea. It looked like it was just a concept. I'm sure it's copywritten. It was called Star City, which was the launching point in Russia where all of their liftoffs would happen. And it was about a modern cosmonaut being sent back into time to the late 50s with his knowledge of today and how he could tip the balance in the space race. And I'm like, yes, please, when is it coming out? And never heard from the guy again. And I have no idea where it is. But, man, the art looked great. I thought the pitch was amazing. And I'm like...
I just picked up, on the recommendation of David Brothers, a manga series. Now, I haven't started reading it yet.
Okay.
But I have the first volume by my bed, and it's called Twin Speaka. And it's about, here, I've just pulled up the wiki page. The realistic slice-of-life science fiction series tells the story of a group of Japanese high school students training to become astronauts in the early 21st century after the country's first human spaceflight launch ends in a disaster and causes many civilian casualties. But it's like a tiny girl who wants to be an astronaut, which, you know, of course, is at 5 feet tall, totally up my alley. But just flipping through it, and it looks really lovely. It's very well reviewed. So I was like, ooh, well, I will take that.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know little about the Russian program. I know nothing about the Japanese program. So
yeah, me neither do I. Does it start in May or what month is it, or next month?
Captain Marvel?
Yes, ma'am. July. Very patriotic. All right.
It's actually coming out the week of my birthday. So yeah, happy birthday to me.
Nice, atta girl. As always, your point of view is fascinating, and I enjoy our conversations, as you know, and look forward to the next. And we've got an excuse to do it in a couple of months when your new announcements come up.
Right on. Thank you, sir. I always enjoy chatting with you as well.
There you go. Of course, Kel kicking ass now on Aquaman, and very excited about what she's doing in television and in film as well. And don't worry, in a couple weeks we'll have a catch-up with Kelly Sue, hopefully in July. That's the plan. And right now everything's on paper, so unless, barring any personal things that might have to postpone it, I'm sure we'll get together this summer and finally have a new talk. It's been way too long. In fact, we were going to try and do something before I got sick last year. And then, of course, things got sidelined. But that's okay. Back on the mend, and we'll have Kelly Sue back soon to talk also about, what's the perception of the Captain Marvel phenomenon as it stands today. So I look forward to that talk in the weeks ahead with Kelly Sue DeConnick on Word Balloon. Thanks a lot for listening today. Hope you enjoyed it. It was brought to you by Key Collector Comics and, of course, the League of Word Balloon listeners as well. It's free. Check out Key Collector Comics at the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Word Balloon is also brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, for your support via Patreon, patreon.com/wordballoon. And Aftershock Comics, really cool books on the way. Cannot wait to talk to some of these creators and have conversations. Joe Pruitt's horror anthology Shock, Cullen Bunn's Knights Temporal, Chris Sabella's Trustfall, Matthew Klickstein's You Are Obsolete. Juan Doe has a new book. Hopefully we'll be talking to all of those creators in the weeks ahead. But you don't have to wait. You can find out full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on these books to order through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Thanks again for listening, and don't worry, this has just been a couple episodes where I wanted to look back at some old conversations and see how they've aged and how have perceptions changed or, dreams came true in the last couple of years. I think in both conversations with Kirkman and Kelly Sue. So now we look on to the current scene and great conversations to come in June right here on Word Balloon, just in a couple days. Until next time, thanks for listening. Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions. Copyright 2019.